Seth Davis, Sports Illustrated, CBS College hoop analyst, as well as the host of the Seth Davis Show on CampusInsiders.com. He joins us now. Seth, how are you?
Good morning, Dan. Must be March.
Yeah, that time of the year.
There's like 5 weeks of the year where people actually care what I have to say. So,
well, I'm never going to call you in September. Probably not October, but this is what college basketball has done to college basketball.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's a double-edged sword, you know. You ask sports fans if there was one sporting event that they would refuse to miss, I'll bet a lot of them would say the tournament. You know, the tournament is that good. Does that overshadow the regular season? Yes, but the real problem with the regular season is that there's this thing out there called football. So as long as there's NFL and college football, I think everything is going to be second tier. But it's a fun time of year, mostly because it means I get to talk to you.
But if you take away the brackets, how interested would people be in just plain watching college basketball? You
mean the pools and all that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a big part of it. That's a big part of it. I mean, I think the office pools and everything, I think that brings people in to watch. But I do think once they're there, they're pretty transfixed. You know, you have the different layers. Obviously, the hardcore college hoops fans go and watch anyway. The casual basketball fan or the sports fan who's not necessarily that into college basketball gets real into it. But I think what the pools does is it brings in a lot of female viewers, a lot of non-sports fans who might not otherwise be interested.
Best player in college basketball is?
You know, man, it's like asking me my favorite Olsen twin. I mean, we have a great race between Frank Kaminsky and Jahlil Okafor. I think it's neck and neck. I mean, if you line up the numbers, they're basically identical. You know, Kaminsky's a better foul shooter. Okafor's a better offensive rebounder. People say Kaminsky's a better defender, but, you know, defensive rebounding is a big part of defense. I would step back in a situation like this and just say, okay, you're a college coach, you don't have any players, and you can only pick one guy to start a team to win a game in college today. I'm not talking about NBA. Who would you pick? I would give a slight edge to Okafor, but it is super close. And if people want to say it's Kaminsky, that's fine. The only thing I would disagree with is anyone who tries to make an argument either side is not close. It's extremely close.
Kaminsky is the only player in the nation leading his team in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and block shots.
It's pretty good. He's definitely good. And you know, then there's the question of, you know, the fact that he's a senior. You know, I don't think that should be in the mix. But if other people want to disagree, then that's fine as well. Okafor's pretty good now.
But the amazing thing though is we look at a senior, and all of a sudden we look at you like you're a leper. Like, man, what happened to you, man?
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, you stayed around for 4 years. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I know. Although in his case, you know, he really kind of what I appreciate about him. You know, you saw him have his senior day ceremony yesterday. We showed it on CBS, and you know, it's like, you know, he could have gone after the tournament he had last year. He would have been a first-round pick.
Did you see? He had a GoPro on.
How awesome is that?
He wore a GoPro for walking out with his parents during it. That's pretty cool.
I love it. I love everything. You know, Bo Ryan, his whole culture of that program is player development. He told me that Frank Kaminsky has come further faster than any player he's ever had. That's saying a lot. He's a super kid.
He's Seth Davis from CBS, the road to the Final Four. When does Kentucky lose?
They don't. I think, you know, for years I said no one will ever do what Indiana did in '76. There's a reason it hasn't happened since 1976. I started saying, Dan, last summer when I saw Kentucky's exhibition tour through the Bahamas that they could go undefeated, partly because the SEC is not a great league. It's going to send probably 5 or 6 teams to the tournament, but when the second best team that everybody recognizes in the league is Arkansas, and they can't even keep it within 20, I think that shows you the gap between the rest of the league. But, you know, Kentucky can always – it's the best defensive team I've ever seen, the best defensive team mathematically in the last, 20, 25 years. And the reason why teams lose is, number one, somebody gets into foul trouble. So Frank Kaminsky or Jahlil Okafor picks up their third, with 5 minutes to go in the first half. Those teams are in trouble. Kentucky doesn't have that issue because of their depth. And then the other reason teams like Kentucky lose is they just have a bad shooting night, but their defense is so good. Yeah. That's how they butter their bread. I think they're going to run the table.
I think it's easier to run the table now from the standpoint of there are no kids who are staying longer. So you're one and dones against their one and dones when it comes down to great teams. Now you get a Wichita State or somebody in there that's got kids who stay for sophomore, junior, or senior year. But if you get 3 kids who are one and dones, you're like Syracuse did with Carmelo. I mean, granted, you had to have, Jerry McNamara and some other people in there, but I do think it's a little bit easier. Back when Indiana did it, you had guys who stayed, they were staying 3 and 4 years. And to run the table back then, I thought, that's more impressive than what Kentucky's done.
Well, but then again, the teams that they're playing, that's why it's so hard to compare eras. I mean, the teams that Indiana was playing in '76 also had older players who stayed. So, to me, it's not about, could this team beat, the 1996
But that made it tougher.
team.
Like, you're going against Michigan, and Michigan was very good. They had,
but the fact that their own players stayed made it easier. You know what I'm saying? So it's to me, it's how you dominate your own era. I mean, it's very hard to go undefeated, never lose a single game with a team that's dominated by freshmen. I mean, what do they know about winning? What do they know about college? Ironically, Dan, it's this team is technically older by Calipari standards, but I think it's like the 5th youngest team in the country. So the fact that players that young, that talented, with those kinds of designs on professional careers are able to buy into playing defense the way they do and sharing the ball and limiting their minutes with this crazy 2-platoon system. I mean, it's in a lot of ways it's very, very difficult what they're doing. Don't sell them short.
Oh, I think the toughest thing to get kids to do is play defense. But what Coach Cal's done is if you play defense, you get to play. If you don't play defense, you don't get to play. I would have played defense, Seth, if that was the case.
Yeah, had you been genetically capable. But no,
whoa,
no, I'm kidding. I kid.
Oh, that's a shot early.
I kid because hey, I'm in L.A.
We're not even in the first 4 yet. I mean, we haven't even started the first 4, and you took a shot.
I just got off an airplane. You're right, that was low. I hope we can bury this notion about John Calipari is only a great recruiter, not a great coach. I mean, anybody who says that just doesn't understand what coaching is all about. I mean, one thing about college basketball coaches is a lot of them don't know how to coach really talented players. And because you've got to hold them accountable, and you've got to get them to buy in, and you've got to get them to be unselfish. You watch Kentucky play, and the way they share the ball, the way they commit, and the fact that they're willing to buy in to playing fewer minutes. I mean, if Karl Anthony Towns played anywhere else, he'd be getting 35 minutes a game. He is completely bought in to what they're doing. And I'll also say this, Dan, another reason why I've said in the past I didn't think it would happen is because I think the pressure would get to them. I've said, and I still believe that in a lot of respects, it's better to lose a game or two before the tournament because you go through that growth process and not deal with the pressure. I think this team feeds off that goal where there are a couple of games in the league, particularly down at LSU, where they could have lost.
Yeah.
They could have easily packed it in, but they dug down and found a way to win because they want to run the table, and I'm convinced that they will.
Vanderbilt do the right thing with Kevin Stallings?
Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, look, I like the fact that he's getting mad that the kid is showing bad sportsmanship. The method of delivery of the message was not great, and the fact that a camera was right in his face that everybody could see and hear was not great. His apology was, I think, very heartfelt. To the extent that I think it can force coaches to re-examine some of the things that they say and do. I mean, I realize that there are things that have been said in the 50s, 60s, 70s, but cultural mores change, and I would hope that we talk about teachable moments for kids. I think it's a teachable moment for the coach, and I think to suspend a guy for doing that would have been over the top.
We'll be good friends this month, Seth. So be by the phone, okay?
Dan, I love you.
I love you too.
All right.
Thank you, Seth. It's Seth Davis, CBS Sports College Basketball.